So welcome to metaphor number 4. We are now going to see the black spot in the middle of the white page. We're going to see what it's doing there very soon. The goal of this metaphor is to help children recognize the fake power of the media to influence our thinking, our thoughts. So here's how we're going to do this. We'll ask the class, after we put this out on the whiteboard with a black spot in the middle, or in this case it's a flip chart with a black spot in the middle, and ask the class, what do you see here? And probably their eyes are going to focus on the black spot in the middle, and they'll say various answers. Well, there's this big white sheet of paper with a black spot in the middle. That's pretty much the type of answer you're going to get. After they've identified the black spot in the middle of the white page, then ask them, here's a newspaper, it's today's newspaper. And of course, if you're not comfortable having a newspaper in the classroom, or for that matter, scroll down, let's say, I don't know, New York Times news on an iPhone, and ask each child to read one headline from each segment of the page or on the iPhone. If you're not comfortable with that, then just select on your own a whole load of headlines and write each one out, just the headline, and ask the children if this headline is a happy or unhappy headline. Is it good news or is it bad news? And invariably, the amount of bad news is disproportionately greater than the good news. That's always, and it almost really literally doesn't make a difference which newspaper you open. They're all the same. That goes for a lot of the magazines as well, sadly. So here's what you want to do. Ask the children to take turns in reading out one headline, either of an actual newspaper or from your phone if you want to show it around, and they scroll down to the next headline, and each child reads out one, and you ask them to identify, is that good news or bad news? At the end of that exercise, it will become quite obvious that the vast majority of the headlines are introducing bad news. Now, ask the children on small post-its. You can take a post-it like this size, you can cut it in half, and so you've got a small post-it on each one. Ask them to write down a one-word definition of bad news. So I've already put this out over here. So one kid might put scams, okay? And we'll place that right under the black spot. Another kid writes out, disease. Another one say, drunken driving was reported in the news. Car crashes, injuries, scandals, wars. Well, it's pretty bad. Murder, death, blackmail, divorce, terror attacks, corruption, and it can go on, domestic violence, and etc., etc. Now, collect these together and tell the children, as you accumulate the bad news, tell them, there's a lot of bad news out there. I'm going to ask you to notice what I'm doing. The bad news is that black spot. Why is it that the black spot, bad news, gets my attention? How does a newspaper, magazine, sell its news? Is it going to sell good news or bad news? Well, bad news sells better than good news. Why is that? Well, it kind of stands out. Get the kids to answer this question. Yeah, the black spot stands out. What's all the rest of the white? You see, why does the black spot stand out? Pause for a few seconds and then give them the answer, because this is the clincher. Well, there are a couple of other clinchers, but this is really a big clincher. So why does the black spot, bad news, stand out? Because it's news. See, all the white that's going on is not news. See, every time there's a terror attack, there are over 7 billion other people who are not being terrorized. Every time there's a death, well, 99.9% of people on the road are not drunk, and so 99.9% of the people on the road are getting home safely. But the one that doesn't, oh, that's news. Oh, the person who was injured in a fatal accident, skydiving, well, out of the hundreds or thousands of people skydiving, it's a dangerous sport. I personally don't recommend it, but the percentage of people who actually die is very minimal. Oh, the number of people who died in car crashes, train crashes, airplane crashes, well, compared to the number of planes in the air, it's way less than 99.9% that actually... Do you understand what we're saying? Meaning the 99.9% of all the good news, that's not news. This is news, so it stands out. It gets reported. So let me ask you, and get the kids to answer this question. By reading bad news again and again and again, every day, could it make a person feel anxious, fearful, worried about safety, security, my family, traveling to other countries? Can I trust people out there? Because we didn't put everything out there. There's a lot of other stuff we could put that I didn't want to put. This is for children. But some of you might say, no, we should put that. We should put certain terrible crimes that are being committed against even children. Chas v'shalom, kidnapping. But for everyone that's chas v'shalom kidnapped, there are many millions who are not. And then tell them, this one spot is actually on graph paper. Look closely and you'll see these are lots of squares. This black spot occupies 1 square out of 891 squares on this one sheet of graph paper. See, 891 squares means 890 are white, 1 is black. The black is the bad news. The good news is way more. You know, talk about bittul b'shishim, 890 is pretty much 15 times 60. And bittul means 1 in 60. So you've already got 15 times over bittul b'shishim. So the bad news is so small, minute, in comparison to the good that's going on in our lives at any one moment. And you're helping the children recognize that the media, when we pay attention to the media, which most of it is not always even accurate, it's fake reality, non-reality. And yet we can claim it can make me feel scared. Life is dangerous, not safe. The world is getting worse and worse. People can't be trusted. And even though there may be truth to all that, the problem is this black spot is thought. All this is thought. Where do I want to live? Do I want to live over here? Do I want to live over here? These are important questions to challenge the mind of a child to recognize that no matter how much bad news they hear or are exposed to, if I'm going to put it in perspective, the amount of good that's taking place in our personal lives, our family, extended family, on a second, minute, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis is way more good than not good. This becomes a way to recognize the power of the media to influence our thinking. But it's our thinking that is paying attention to this or paying attention to the good that's happening every moment of our lives. So when we look at the context of bad news and recognize that, 99.9, it's actually even more than that, but 99.9 people who go swimming don't drown. 99.9 people who go on a train, on a plane, in a boat, in a car don't crash. 99.9% of the people are not robbing banks. So when I read about a bank that's being robbed or a scandal of tremendous amount of money that is being siphoned off by some sort of company that's got a scam, well, there are millions of other companies that are not doing those activities. But guess what? All those other millions of companies and all those millions of people who are swimming and not drowning, they are not news. because that's happening all the time. The good news doesn't get my attention because I'm swimming in it all the time. Good news is around me, inside me all the time. Where do I want to live? This is thought in the moment. Where do I want to live? If I don't like the black spot, if I don't like focusing on the bad news, if I notice what it's doing to me to create anxiety or worry about life, about illness, and 99.9% of people are not in hospital with fatal illnesses. They're not in chemo. They're not dying from heart disease. I mean, we might have serious problems with the diet in our country, in Western society, and its slow impact in poisoning, destroying the body. The body is self-correcting, self-healing, and with the right foods, a little bit of exercise, the body can self-correct. It's brilliant because it's divinely intelligent, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in every single cell of our body, and therefore when we treat our body right, we can self-correct. But 99.9% of the people are not dying in hospitals. That's good news. It's not reported because it's not news. Get this really clear. Help the children to really recognize this. It's a very powerful understanding that the ultimate clincher is that I live over here in thought. And I can choose to live outside of here because this is thought in the moment. And if I'm noticing that, hey, it's not good for me to think about terror and worry about being scammed, just be smart. It's not good for me to worry about debt and people who are bankrupt, and worry about scandals and can people be trusted, and what ends up happening, I can live a life full of anxieties. Will I be one of those statistics of fatal statistics? Well, drive carefully, don't drink and drive, don't drink at all. I'm talking about alcohol when driving. I mean, don't smoke, and I probably won't die from lung cancer. Eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, raw food that will cleanse out my guts and my intestines so that my colon and my digestive system works very efficiently, and is sending nutritious food, carbohydrates, nutrients and amino acids and the proteins and oxygen in my bloodstream to my cells to energize me with healthy fuel. I can expect to live a long time and a healthy life because of the choices I'm making. So take the anxiety out from the bad news and replace it with being proactive. These are discussions you can have depending on the maturity of the children in your class, teenagers or younger. But the main point is help the children recognize that we really live over here most of the time. But the news is mostly bad and wants to steal my mind away from reality. This is way more reality than what's going on over here. The last part of this is always invite the children to reveal their comments and their insights into the metaphors, as opposed to give your explanation straight away. I'm giving an explanation because I have to be the children as well over here, but really you want the kids to explore this and then to extrapolate their own insights into what's going on over here, and you guide them in that direction by these questions. The last point over here is invite the children to keep a log, 1 or 2 or 3 to volunteer, that they will keep a log from now till next week. And when we have our Middos session once a week with a metaphor and a brief discussion, we'll start it with those 2 or 3 children that said they want to keep a log, and they're going to start noticing where bad news comes into their mind as a thought and what they did with it. Explore, delete. Water the weeds or move on and let the flowers grow, blossom in the mind of your beautiful garden in your mind. So these are ways to have the children then share with you next week what they noticed different about their thinking, and this will help encourage the children. Called Milchamta Shel Torah, in the same way that it's a meeting of minds, creates clarity. Kinat Soifrim Machkim, that when other children hear the insights that the children who kept a log had, and how it helped them be happier and overcome a moment of difficulty or in the Sion, it will create a healthy jealousy in the other children. I think I'm going to start keeping a log too. And so with the future metaphors, they can start logging as well. But the main thing is get the children to offer their insights. Okay, we're in metaphor number 5. Actually, this one and the next 4 after it, that's 5 total, are all repeats from recess in the section of bullying, where we covered several metaphors. These ones I'm going to cover now again, which reveals a child's inner resilience, their innate health, to recognize that I exist inside thought and I can always choose a different thought. And that the origin of my feelings is actually thought in the moment. The real origin of my experiences is not what happens to me, but what I'm thinking. So we're going to illustrate this in this particular metaphor, metaphor number 5, with what's called, is the spider real? Now in this particular case, I've actually lost my spider, and I also lost my beetle. So I've brought along a cockroach. No, it's fake. This is the cockroach, so don't get freaked out. And if you ask me how do I know it's fake, well, actually, it actually does say here it's manufactured by CNN. So we know it's a fake cockroach. So for those of you who are squirmish, it's plastic, it's fake, it's not real. Okay, so here's the question. There's a cockroach on my shoulder, and I thought, oh, it's fake. I thought it was real. I'm so sorry. I really freaked out for a moment. Phew, you know, here's the question. What made me fear the cockroach? Let the kids answer. And they will come to it, hopefully, that what made me fear the cockroach was because I thought it was real. It's only plastic. I bet it's one of my brother's pet spider, beetle, cockroaches. He's always playing practical jokes on me. It drives me nuts. Anyway, so I'm so relieved. Well, one second. What made me fear it in the first place? The cockroach itself, or the thought that it was real? So it wasn't whether it was real or not. It was the thought that it was real. So here's scenario B. That was scenario A. Scenario B is, this is my brother again. It's a real one! And you see it scuttle away. And at first I thought it was my brother playing another prank. And then you see when you flicked it off, it started moving. Oh my gosh, it's a real one. I can't believe it's a real one. What made me not fear the cockroach in scenario B? And the answer is, because I thought it wasn't real. Oh, I thought it wasn't real. So listen carefully. Scenario A, I thought it was real at first, so I was scared. The scenario B, I didn't think it was real. I thought it was fake, so I wasn't scared. So what is actually the cause, the origin of my fear? The cockroach being real or not? Or it doesn't even make a difference if it's real or not, is what I'm thinking. So have the children give you feedback as to what are their insights into this. And they may argue, they discuss. It's not something to argue back for. You want to gather their responses and have them discuss it, because you're helping them explore what is the true source of my feelings. Is it what happens to me? Is it experiences I experience? Is it actually my feelings? Or is it really none of those? It's actually thought in the moment that I produce, is what I'm thinking. As we've said in other presentations, you're never actually married to your wife. You are, but you're not. You really aren't. You're only ever married to who you think she is. You're never married to your husband. You're only ever married to who you think he is. Your son is not really your son. Your son is really who you think he is. If you don't like who he is, guess where you should start to affect change in what you're thinking about him. So we've covered that a few times, but have the children using this metaphor of a beetle or a plastic spider, or in this case a plastic cockroach, give their feedback as to what is the true origin of my experience. What is the true origin of my feelings? Thought in the moment. Like the thought, explore it. Don't like the thought, ignore it. Move on, delete. Welcome to metaphor number 6. How much is this bill worth? So the aim of this metaphor is to help children recognize that their true self-worth, their true value is never changed. Nothing can destroy their true self-esteem. Their true worth being Tselem Elokim, their true self-esteem is unchangeable, indestructible. So how do you bring this out for a child so that whatever happens outside of them doesn't change who they know they are inside? So that the resilience that is innate to every child is always there to surface. So this is a very simple metaphor. We had this in recess as well in the bullying section, but we're going to repeat it over here because it has such relevance to helping a child pay attention to thought in the moment and always realigning where it's necessary to my true worth. I am Tselem Elokim. So with no further ado, here's a $100 note. How much is it worth? So I'm speaking to the classroom and they're going to tell me, whoa, it's $100. Very good. I scrumpled it up and asked them, how much is it worth now? They'll say $100. Okay. I hate you. You're disgusting. You are a piece of nothing. How much is this $100 worth now? And they'll say, it's still $100. Okay, I throw it on the floor and stamp it. How much is it worth now? It's still $100. And I call it names. You're horrible. You're a piece of... I hate you. No, you've got no friends. How much is it worth now? And the answer is, it's still $100. So even though it's pretty badly creased from a few moments ago, has that changed its worth? No, its value is still $100. It has exact same buying power as before. Actually, it's not a perfect metaphor because when we ask Hashem, as we mentioned earlier, please Hashem, let me be ka'afa lakol tiyeh. Afa actually gets stronger each time someone treads on it. So in a certain sense, actually our self-worth potentially can actually improve, increase, because the stronger we get when we carry heavy weights, it builds our muscles so that we become stronger and stronger. But ask the children, what do they learn from this metaphor? Let them extrapolate the lessons, the mussar, that they want to be able to notice. So if this never gets changed in terms of what I do to it, it's still a $100 note. And I don't say you have to do this in every classroom, but you could pull out $1 notes, do the same thing to that, and give out the dollar note for every kid that wants to go through this experiment and identify it's still a dollar. If you've got a child who's being bullied, do it for the child and help them understand that the bully might be doing this to you, but it doesn't change who you are inside. Have the children tell you what they've learned from them. They'll come up with their own insights. So for example, you could ask them to speak to you or the rest of the class as though they are the $100 note and ask them, so what are you telling yourself after you've been scrumpled and screamed at and crumpled and spat at and cursed, and have them tell you, well, my value is still the same, so I haven't actually changed intrinsically. Nothing inside me is different. If anything, I might even be amused at the irony that other people think what they think about me, but that's their reality, and my reality hasn't changed because I'm still worth $100. So help the children actually articulate that the bully, the insult, has no power over the true me, which is thought in the moment. And that if I don't take the insult seriously because my self-worth is still the same, untouched, that's resilience. That's very powerful. Like David HaMelech, who's cursed out by the head of the Sanhedrin, no less, the Av Beis Din, the Rosh of the Sanhedrin, who was Shimi ben Gera, and David HaMelech had the resilience and the inner serenity to not take it personally, and in the moment actually told his general, what do you want from this guy? Leave him alone. That's what he thinks. That's not what I think. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only good to me, and Hashem put those words in his mouth. But that doesn't change my self-worth. I'm still Tselem Elokim. I'm still Bani Matem Lashem Elokeichem. I'm still one of Hashem's children. So it doesn't change who I am inside. I'm still a Jew with everything that goes along with that. I'm a thought in the moment. So I can do tshuva in the next second, but my worth is still the same. That doesn't change. Let me read you some of the typical responses. One kid says, "Cool, that's only your thinking of me," in the insults to the $100 note, but it's not my thinking of me. One kid said, "Well, what's more important in my life? What other people think of me or what I think of me? And if what I think of me is I'm still $100, I'm still worth what I am, so okay, that's their opinion of me, but that's not my opinion of me. So whose opinion counts more, theirs or mine?" And I really have to take that seriously. That can be a very important discussion for children who are entering the teenage years, where there's a lot of sense of social acceptance. I've got to be accepted by my friends, my peers, especially amongst girls. That can very often play a major role in social circles, where this metaphor has the power to help a child have the inner resilience and recognize the music is always playing. My true value never changes. Cool for you, I have a different opinion, and I believe in my reality, and you believe in yours. So, that's end of the discussion. Cool, that's your opinion, but not mine. Your opinion cannot hurt my mind unless I give you power to hurt me. What a great statement. Unless I give you power to hurt me. But I can take that power away the next moment when I realize I'm the one who's powering my thought and thinking that you are hurting me. So I'm the one who's powering the pain. And it's not you. I'm amused by the irony that they think that they have power over me. That's really amusing. How does anybody go inside my brain and tell me what to think of me? So even though they're cursing me, spitting at me, calling me names, telling me I'm worth nothing, I'm a piece of dirt, I've got no friends, well, if that doesn't match up to my reality of me, so that's almost like, that's ironic. That's amusing. I smiled inside myself that they are mistaken and that their words are only thoughts in my mind, which I can ignore or explore. If you are a target of a bully, this is how to help yourself not give the bully more bullets. If I'm walking away the same value as before, or even more, then the bully lost the chance to try again. Because what's the point? It's bouncing off. It doesn't affect you. You're still able to have value. So let the children explore, extrapolate, and give you their insights. Okay, metaphor number 7, 10-pin bowling, or in England it's called Skittles. The question we're going to answer is, who is the real you? Can you destroy thought? No. Can you knock the real me down? Well, my body you can knock down, has v'shalom, but that's not the real me. The real me is thought in the moment. I can always change that thought. So in 10-pin bowling, we're going to have a very simple metaphor whereby I am, let's say, the one who's throwing this bowl at the pins, Skittles, which way you want to call them. So this could be the different adversity, difficulties, pain, has v'shalom, tragedy in life that knocks me down. Whoa! So the question is, what would happen if every time, let's say, a bully throws the bowl and tries to smash, he gets directly on, but it won't fall. It just won't fall. What will he do? He'll go to the next bowling lane. Why? Because for someone to have more power than me, they want to be able to maintain that power over and above me and oppress me. But if it doesn't work, hey, they're not getting power, they'll have to go elsewhere. So in this metaphor, which we've covered before in recess, the question really is, what is the metaphor? And get the kids to figure it out. So the person who's bowling is the bully, the bowl is the insult, and the Skittles is me. But who's the real me? Thought in the moment. Can you knock down thought? Of course not. Can you cut it in half? No. Can you stab it? No. Can you fire a bullet through a thought? No. So if the real me is thought in the moment, nothing can really harm me unless I think about it that way. So in this metaphor, you want to help the children understand that when I've got the vicissitude, the strength, the resilience to stand up, and even if I do get knocked down, come up straight away. Oh, that's thought in the moment. I can come back up. And again, it's a metaphor. Let the children come up with their own insights so that they can start playing with their thoughts. I am not going to get knocked down. And if I do, I can always get up again. I may be down, but I'm never out because I can always stand up again. And who's the I standing up? It's thought in the moment. So I can re-grip who I truly am. I'm good. I'm Tselem Elokim. I'm Hashem's child. And Hashem wants me to be happy. It's a mitzvah to enjoy life. It's a mitzvah to be grateful, to be appreciative, to be loving. So if right now I'm down, I'm never more than one thought away from picking myself up and starting again, and again, and again, and again. That's resilience. So it doesn't matter how many knocks I get in life, if the real me is not my body, it's my mind, then a person could be, in theory, a David HaMelech who suffered the most any human being ever did in world history, and yet be able to be completely fixated on Hodu Lashem Ki Tov. You know why I'm grateful to you? Because you're good. How good? Ki la'olam chazdai. The white, compared to that little black spot, is hundreds of times more. And David HaMelech was able to say, oh, yeah, I know there's a black spot there, but guess what? If I'm going to count the black, big if I'm going to count the black, then I have to be consistent with my own logic and count the white. But at the moment I start counting the white, the good, the chesed, the kindness in my life, it's le'olam chazdai. His kindness to me is unlimited. I'm just too blessed to be stressed. So when David HaMelech did get knocked down, Achitophel, Dayag, came back up, did get knocked down by his father-in-law, more than once, twice, 3 times, being pursued, attempted assassination by Shaul HaMelech, David HaMelech got up again. Because who's the real me? Not my body. Who's the real me? My family? No. Who's the real me? My zip code? No. My home? My car? No. The real me is thought in the moment. Oh, so I'm never far away from the next thought. It's only a thought away. Oh, so I can pick myself up because the real picking me, the real me is my thoughts. So David HaMelech was able to tell us this is what life is really about. He would be honest about the pain. Dal nafshi metuka, my soul drips with agony. And then yet he's able also to say, I love you, God, because you're good. Tov Hashem lakol. Really, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Everything that you ever made is saturated with your rachamim. Chesed kel kol hayom. Your kindness is all day long. So, and that's a thought. I'm never far away from the next thought. And what ends up happening is the Yetzer Hara, negative thinking, bad thinking, which will try to knock me down. After a while, once it sees, hey, I keep coming back, leaves me alone. To the point that David HaMelech was able to say, Libi halal bikirbi. My mind is dead inside me. Meaning that part of my mind, negative, the Yetzer Hara, gone, dead, finished. And that halal, that vacuum, which is now empty, guess what he filled it with? Hashem, your earth is filled with your acquisition, meaning your signature, God, is everywhere. Your hashgacha, the perfection. So I can get knocked down, but I'm never more than one thought away. Which thought? A thought of gratitude, hodu. A thought of another gratitude, moeda'ani. Another thought of gratitude, pokeach ivrim, zoikef kifufim. All the brachas of Birkas HaShachar are all thoughts of reality. It's reality thinking. We're training in reality thinking. Now I'm giving a bit of a lecture out of this, but I'm giving you just more and more teichen content so that when you bring out the metaphor, you can help guide the children to, so what is reality thinking that will help me get up every time I'm knocked down, or help me not get knocked down in the first place. So that's metaphor number 7. Let's move to metaphor number 8.